Okay, we'll start with this. News broke yesterday that the WBO have officially ordered Ramla Ali to face unbeaten Kreps for the vacant WBO title in what will be Ramla Ali's second crack at the apple, her second attempt to become a world champion. The first came against then WBC champion Jaime Mercado, where Ramla lost a competitive decision. In my opinion, she should have won, but no dice, and now she will be facing unbeaten Kreps, who sports an unblemished record of 11 wins with no losses and no draws, 3 knockouts. One of the better fighters you've never heard of at 122 pounds, vying for the newly vacant WBO title that was left vacant by Ellie Scottney after having become undisputed champion, then making the decision to move up in weight. The reset button has been hit at Super Bantam. Ramla Ali sports a professional record of 11 wins with 2 losses, no draws, 3 knockouts, having been knocked out once in 13 professional bouts. That was at the hands of Mexico's own Alejandra Guzman. Last in action in February of this year opposite the ring, Monica Singh, who she stopped in the first round of a contest scheduled for 8. Before that, she fought Lila Furtado in July of the previous year. Ramla ain't really been that active the last year and a half. That was the only fight that Ramla had the whole of last year, and she's fought at least once this one, but you still get the impression that she could stand to be busier, that there was a room in there to have more fights. Currently on a 2-fight winning streak. There's a credible argument that going in, Ramla is the more experienced fighter of the two, having been in there with Alejandra Guzman 2 times, Jaime Mercado, a then unbeaten Avril Mathy, and more recently the hard-punching Lila Furtado. There's definitely an argument that Ramla has been in there with better fighters than Kreps has been in there with, but I don't think she's as talented as Kreps, and that matters a great deal. Comparing their resumes so far, Ramla's been in there with the better fighters, but Makaya's resume, it isn't bad. She's been in there with seasoned veteran India Rodriguez. She's been in there with a solid fighter in Melissa Parker and a former champion in Mayerlene Rivas. So she has had the necessary developmental fights to qualify her as a solid contender. And I think when the time comes, she's going to beat Ramla Ali. She's going to become WBO champion. Ramla is 36 years old. Hasn't been that active in the last 12 months. She used to train under Manny Robles over there on the West Coast, but I don't think she's doing that anymore. I would be a little bit more confident in her if she were still with Manny. Makaya is about 6 or 7 years younger at 29, and coming into her prime, she's peaking, getting better. I think she is a more versatile fighter than Ramla Ali and a bigger puncher. I think that when the opening bell sounds, Ramla's going to try to use her height and length to box up Kreps, who's going to have to close the distance and get inside on Ramla. I think she's going to. I think she's going to beat her up from the inside out. Put pressure on her and set a frenetic pace for Ramla Ali, who's in her mid-30s, to have to try and keep up with. Now that the fight has been officially ordered, I think it's going to be MVP that promotes it. I think Ramla's still with them, even though her last fight was on a non-MVP show. I still think they're affiliated, and I think it will be them that put this fight together. When Makaya wins, becomes WBO champion, that will be her segue to being promoted by MVP, because they may have options on the winner moving forward. We'll talk more about the fight once a fight date is established and that fight date approaches. In men's junior middleweight news, Fundora will fight Boots, not Virgil Ortiz.
My pussy hurt.
Samson Lewkowicz said this defense against their Hadrabayej is a mandatory, then it will be Boots. I'd rather go to a unification with Boots than fight Virgil. So now, Ortiz is 2 years away. He's a good fighter, not a great fighter, but he doesn't sell, and he has the wrong management. He's supposed to be the mandatory, but thanks to his management fighting with De La Hoya, he lost the opportunity, so who's afraid? His boxer should be afraid of his manager. Now, he will wait. You're always hearing this used car salesmen talk about so-and-so's gotta wait, so-and-so's gotta wait. That's what they said about Crawford when they were shamelessly vying for a Spence fight. Now they're saying that about Virgil Ortiz. Is there any reason in particular that they might have a preference, why they would prefer to fight Boots instead of fighting Virgil? People in boxing always speak in codes.
My pussy hurt.
They never give it to you straight and tell you what they really think, but there is always something behind what they say. So is there a reason they might have a preference for Boots instead of Virgil? I think ain't gonna fight either of them. It's easy to say, we're not fighting Virgil, but we will fight Boots because it sounds good, and because Boots is buzzing right now. I don't actually believe it coming from Samson Lewkowicz. I don't think they want to fight Boots, but they are feeling some pressure to fight someone good. If they do end up fighting, then great. But I'm not going to believe it coming from Samson Lewkowicz. Don't forget, these are the same people that tried to use Spence, coming off a loss, to duck Crawford. I don't believe it coming from them. And these are the same people that surrendered the WBO title to Xander Zayas. I don't believe it coming from them. The excuse now is, we're not going to fight Virgil because we have to fight our mandatory Ermal Hadrabayaj. But what was Ender? He was your mandatory. And when he was your mandatory and pushing for the fight, you surrendered the brown belt.
My pussy hurt.
So now I'm supposed to believe the guys who ducked Xander Zayas are gonna fight the guy that just beat Xander Zayas, the guy that knocked him out. Sounds good. Samson Lewkowicz has been telling the media that Hermal Hadrabayaj, who's currently ranked at number 1 via the World Boxing Council, is the mandatory challenger. But we haven't heard that from the World Boxing Council. We haven't heard that from Mauricio himself. I'm still waiting. We haven't seen an official order from the WBC come down ordering Sebastian to fight Hermal, and I'm of the opinion what they're doing behind the scenes is petitioning the WBC to have Hermal installed as their mandatory. Which is not the same thing as satisfying an order. It's basically a glorified handpick. You pick the guy, then ask the WBC to approve him as your mandatory because you guys think you can beat him. You would rather it be him than Virgil, and I don't often advocate on Virgil Ortiz's behalf, because I think he's a fucking time waster. But I ain't about to accept bullshit from Samson Lewkowicz either, and that's what this smells like. It smells like bullshit. Fucking bullshit. So you can't expect Team Fundora and Samson Lewkowicz to give Virgil Ortiz his opportunity willingly. It's something that he has to do, that he has to pursue. He has to be his own advocate. For as much as Rick Merrigan likes to take to social media, and Oscar De La Hoya, they should be putting pressure on Sebastian to give Virgil the fight. They should be putting pressure on the World Boxing Council to order it, especially now that they've made amends. I think there's still time. Like I said, I haven't seen no official order from the WBC mandating Fundora versus Hadrabayaj. I think that's just Samson trying to get ahead of the story. If Virgil Ortiz and Rick Merrigan and Oscar and everybody at Golden Boy know what's good for them, don't let this year come and go without Virgil getting a shot. If you can squeeze in a tune-up, say towards the end of August or sometime in September, fine. If you can. But the focus for what remains of this year should be centered around getting Sebastian in the ring, lifting the green and gold title from him. The way it is, you've been deprioritized by Jaron Ennis. He's focused on fighting Josh Kelly. Now you've been deprioritized by Team Fundora. This is all your management's fault. The one thing Samson Lewkowicz did say that's true is it's all down to Rick Merrigan and whoever's handling Virgil's career. Since he doesn't want to take control himself. You're letting all these other people make all these decisions for you, and the train is passing you by. The gravy train. I actually like Virgil Ortiz's chances in a Sebastian Fundora fight, but it counts for nothing if the fight doesn't happen, and the fight doesn't happen if you don't push for it. Do you want this thing or do you not want this thing? I don't believe it from Samson Lewkowicz that they're now focused on getting Boots in the ring, because if Boots were the focus, you'd be fighting him at the end of the year, not Hadrabayaj. So what if he's your mandatory? Unification matches trump mandatories. If you really wanted to fight Boots, because we know Boots wants to fight you, the World Boxing Council wouldn't stand in the way. It's a bigger fight. Bigger sanctioning fees.
They wouldn't stop you.
You're hiding behind Hermal Hadrabayej and this would-be mandated fight.
I don't believe yous. I don't believe you want to fight Boots. You don't want to fight Virgil. But I don't believe you want to fight Boots either. You've already had a tune-up in Keith Thurman. What do you think that was?
It was a glorified tune-up fight with a familiar face, but a tune-up fight nonetheless. You've already had a tune-up this year. Now you want another one.
That's what Hadrabayej is. He's not a world-class fighter. He hasn't fought any world-class fighters.
It's all a ruse. It's another con job from boxing's resident used car salesman. Don't fall for the bait and don't buy it at sticker price.
They don't want to fight Boots.
They don't want to fight nobody, in case you haven't noticed. There's a whole lot of chatter about Sebastian Fundora's improvements in the ring, how he's not holding his feet and using his jab more. But against who? Cordell Booker or Tim Tszyu, who he already beat? A past-it Keith Thurman?
Sebastian Fundora hasn't really been fighting anybody, and he doesn't want to fight anybody. Simpson doesn't want to let him.
Do what you want, but I do believe every big name that's signing with Zuffa is selling out. I will say that. That's my opinion. Every big name that's signing with Zuffa is a sellout to the sport, not to themselves. They're doing good. But they're selling out to the sport. And when I say it's selling out to the sport, I don't mean because this business is such a good business. It's not. It's a terrible business. But you're selling out everybody coming behind you. Everybody who's got these dreams and hopes to one day achieve what everybody has achieved before them. You're selling all those people out. You're selling out people who you don't even know who they are. The next generation of talents who, I wouldn't say that are 20 years old now, because I don't think the changeover is going to happen so quickly. But if these guys get their way, the kids that are 10 years old right now, by the time they get ready to turn pro and become phenoms of the next generation, they're not going to be able to walk in those shoes. And that's my problem. You're selling out those kids.
I think that's a load of horse shit from Paulie Malignaggi, who, if he were still an active boxer today, and he were offered the kind of money that Shakur Stevenson has been offered, and Devin Haney, and Usyk, and likely Loma,
He would take it just as easily as they have.
he would fucking take it. It's very easy to be altruistic when you're not being offered anything. It's very easy to be a critic, but the truth is, if Paulie were still fighting, and he was still active, and Zuffa were interested in him,
Would take the fucking money. Of course he would take the fucking money.
very few of these public figures, these boxers that you see on your screens, are doing anything for anyone but themselves. And the idea that they're selling anyone else out.
Grow up.
Boxing was operating with a broken system long before the launch of Zuffa Boxing that is now paying fighters more than they were making before, which kills your initial narrative that fighters were gonna go over there and get jerked. Fighters are going over there and getting more money than they were before.
You don't really care about fighters getting jerked because fighters have been getting jerked or still getting jerked. And you don't talk about it, you only talk about Zuffa.
How much time do you think Paulie Malignaggi has spent talking about how Virginia Fuchs was screwed over by the WBC? Suleiman Sissoko.
Don't give me this claptrap about looking out for the boxers and doing what's best for boxing. If that's what you cared about, that's what you talk about.
You talk about Zuffa so you can talk about Dana. And you talk about Dana because you don't like Dana.
It's the same fucking shit Oscar does.
It's not about doing what's best for the boxers, nor has it ever been, because there was a lot wrong with boxing before Zuffa got here.
Promotion, firstly. I mean, it's very strange. Like, you've got Dana, like, I just saw him on having a dinner with Johnny Fisher, right, the heavyweight, and pushing Johnny Fisher. And, like, no disrespect to Johnny Fisher, I love the guy, but, like, you've got all these massive stars in the UFC. He's not even talking about them. They don't even invite them to the events.
Well, maybe things work one way at the UFC and they work another at Zuffa Boxing. Zuffa is an extension of TKO.
But what's important to understand here is that Zuffa Boxing is not just Dana White's baby. The WWE is also involved. Sella, Turkey, LL Sheik, they are involved also. Upon the inception of the company, I told you.
Don't worry about fighters being underpaid and all of that doom and gloom, because since when has Turkey LL Sheik been in the business of underpaying fighters?
Like, where were the UFC stars at the Conor McGregor fight? Where were the UFC stars at the White House? But you had some random boxers there. It doesn't. I don't know whether they're trying to suppress people and they don't want people to become too big a star in the UFC.
Maybe. Because it's entirely possible that things work one way at the UFC and another in boxing. They are different sports, after all, that have different infrastructures. Fighter pay is what everybody likes to use to talk down Dana White, Dana being the mouthpiece for Zuffa Boxing. But don't forget, Zuffa is not just his baby, and all this money they're kicking out, it's not coming from him, it's coming from Turkey.
But you got guys like, particularly Ian Gary, who I think is a superstar in the making. He's got a great personality, he's an incredible fighter, he's got a great story. Tom Aspinall's star has really risen significantly in the last few months since he signed with us. He's also made over 7 figures outside of the octagon in commercial deals. So they're loving life, you know. And what it allows us to do is understand their business, understand the MMA business, understand the UFC contracts, look at them, understand them.
To use what knowledge you can cultivate to make Dana White's job harder, the way that he's making your job harder. Because underneath it all, for Eddie and the other promoters, that is what this is all about. Competition. Dana White is in the position now that Eddie Hearn was in all those years ago when he paired up with DAZN and they debuted in America. Dana is now the new kid on the block, like Eddie Hearn once was the new kid on the block. History repeats itself.
Look at what they're thinking, and also the pivot for us to MMA is inevitable. But I want to do it when I understand the sport, when I've got a great relationship with the ecosystem, the fighters, the trainers, and I understand the contracts, what they're being paid, and which is frightening at times. I mean, frightening at times. I mean, they're splashing the cash around in boxing. They need to save some for the UFC guys, because those guys...
Listen, Eddie, baby, darling, I love you. But you can't get on your high horse about what Zuffa's paying Johnny Fisher. You basically said they're paying him too much. More than you would have paid him. And then get out the violin for the MMA guys? The UFC fighters? So which one is it? When it's in boxing, you say they're paying guys too much. When it's in the UFC, you say they're not paying guys enough. Near as I can tell, you're just looking for something to say.
Are in absolute war, putting their life on the line, and they're making peanuts. And it's you know, it's not good. It's not good. So, you know, our job is to fight their corner. We came on with Ian Gary a little bit after that Islam fight was made, so our job's more on the commercial side. But with Tom Aspinall, our job is to also consult with him, deal with the UFC, and get ready for a potential fight against Cyril Gane.
It's healthy competition is what it is. I think Eddie Hearn is finally starting to feel the pressure, feel the pinch of Zuffa Boxing coming into it with all of their money and all of their resources and making everybody's job a little bit harder. That's what I think we just saw. That's what I think that is. But it's not like the situation is untenable. Eddie Hearn and all those guys on DAZN have all the ingredients to push back, and push back hard. Now that they've cultivated all the major promotional outfits from both sides of the Atlantic Ocean on one platform, there's really no fight you can't make. So you better get to making some fights. Because we ain't got no time for excuses. Matchroom, Queensbury, Golden Boy, Top Rank, now the PBC, smaller promotional outfits like Salida. Get to work.